What's up, fellow future millionaires? Welcome to Module 5, the 8 ways to market and sell your product or service. Before we dive into the 8 ways, I want to go over a few things just to make sure we're all on the same page. First off, I was going to talk about how important marketing and sales are in your business, but I want to take it a step further. Marketing and sales is your business. In fact, that's all a business really is taking something, a product or service, and selling it. And this is also the number one reason why so many people struggle in business or never get their business off the ground. I call it hitting the target. Most people spend so much time, most of their time, doing things that are kind of around that main bullseye. The bullseye being things that are directly related to marketing and selling your product or service. This might include getting your office set up, building a website, trying to come up with a name. What colors do you want to use? Reading 27,000 million books. Coming up with tweaking, rewriting a 100-page business plan. Spending hours upon hours trying to figure out how to protect assets that you haven't even built up yet. Designs for your business, logos for your business, core values, mission statements, all of the stuff that all of the gurus and all of the books talk about. You've heard 1,000 people say 1,000 things that you absolutely must do, and then you want to go and do all of those and you avoid the thing that matters the most. Sales. In fact, I will go as far as to say very confidently that selling your product is significantly, we're talking like 10, 100, 1,000 times more important than your product or service itself. And this is in part what I was referring to in the last module when I kept saying nobody cares about your business idea. Stop telling people about your freaking business idea and asking them what they think of it and they think it's a good idea or it'll work, and just start selling it. In fact, in many cases, you could probably sell it before you even create it. Now, don't get me wrong. I am not saying that you don't need to worry about having a good product or service, but it doesn't matter how good that product or service is if nobody knows about it, if no one's buying it. And if people are buying your product and service, that will give you more cash, more confidence, a stronger ability to make that product and service even better. The next thing I want to cover is that even though in this module we are talking about the 8 ways to market and sell your product or service, the truth is, just like coming up with a business idea, there are literally millions of different ways, combinations that you can market and sell your product or service. The point and goal of this module is not to make you feel like you have to do one of these certain specific ways, but more as a way to help get your brain going and thinking of all the different possibilities. There are many niche down ways within each of these ways, and you also may consider using a combination of these ways. Just like business ideas, there is an infinite amount of ways and combination of ways that you can sell your product or service. But all you need is one. So keep that in mind as I'm sharing these things. Remember, don't be a yeah butter. If I say something that doesn't totally connect with you, don't think, yeah, but that doesn't work for me. Think either, how can this work for me? Or maybe think, I don't know if that one totally works for me, but let's keep listening and listen for the one that does work most for me. Remember, it only takes one mediocre business idea and one clearly defined and focused marketing or sales strategy to more than create a 7-figure business. Okay, let's dive in. The first one is direct outreach. This includes things such as phone calls, texts, direct messages, emails, and door knocking. If done personally, this is one of the most time-consuming yet least expensive ways to sell your product. If you are low on capital and want to make money quickly, this is where you'll want to start. Start out by going through all your phone contacts. Craft a simple message that best fits the product or service that you are trying to sell, matched with the person who you are reaching out to. If you have a local business, then start by only reaching out to local contacts or people who might know somebody in your local area. Do not overcomplicate this. There's not a specific formula. The key is just doing it. Hey, Ansu, how's it going? How was your recent trip to Hawaii? I'm reaching out because I just started a mobile car detailing business and wanted to know if you'd be open to me coming by sometime this week to wash your cars. My goal is to keep it as easy as possible for you and Uncle Dave, and I promise to charge less than wherever you're getting your car washed now. In fact, I'll even do it for free if you give me a testimonial and let me take some before and after pictures and put it on my website. Wink. I'll actually be in your area tomorrow, and I'm available at 3 o'clock if that works for you. But if there's a time that works better for you, just let me know and I'll make it happen. Obviously, adapt this message based on the relationship you have with the person, the product you're selling, etc. The people you know are going to want to support you regardless and are most likely going to end up paying you just as much, if not more, than what they pay at their local detailer. If it's someone you don't know, then don't be afraid to throw in some kind of guarantee. Remember, your goal at the beginning is just to get momentum, get traction, get customers, get clients, get testimonials, get referrals. Getting your first customer is always harder than getting your next 10. Getting your first 10 is always harder than getting your next 100, and so on and so forth. Next, go to your socials and start doing the same thing through direct messages. Then the same with your email contacts. And I should have started here, but as well as calling anyone in your phone contacts that you have a personal connection with. If it's someone that you don't think will remember you, then maybe a text is better for starting out. We'll refer to the people who are in your phone or email contacts or you're connected to on social media as warm leads. Technically, there are all kinds of stages from lukewarm to medium warm to kind of hot to super hot leads. But the goal is to think less, do more, just take action, reach out to everyone you know, adapt the message accordingly, create a few templates, copy and paste, changing things up for personalization. Once you have exhausted and gone through these warmer contacts multiple times and asked each one of them for referrals, you're now ready to move on to cold outreach. Now, the pros and cons of warm versus cold outreach is your warm connections, the people who know, like, and or trust you, are going to be much more likely to being willing or wanting to buy your product or service. But they're limited, regardless of how popular you are, how many people you know. I'm going to go out on a limb by assuming that there are significantly more people out there in this world that you do not know. So starting with warm leads, the people that you best know is going to be your lowest hanging fruit. It's going to most likely get you the most customers the fastest, which is also why we have you reach out to all of them. Since cold outreach will be harder and take more time at the beginning, but there's so many more people to reach out to, you're better off starting out focusing on just one of these methods. We'll get into this more in an upcoming module, but you will also want to utilize more leverage, more tools, systems, automations, people when it comes to cold outreach. For example, in episode 160 of the Millionaire University podcast, I recently interviewed Ryan Atkinson, who shared with us how he's currently making $30,000 a month with his video production company and getting all of his customers through his cold email outreach system. Essentially, technology and automation allows him to reach out to thousands of people each and every single week on autopilot, and then they just communicate with the people who are interested in his product or services. If he had to send a separate cold email to every single one of these people, he probably wouldn't get too far. Two major things to consider when it comes to direct outreach. Number one, it is a volume game. And while you do want to continue to improve your messaging and your response rates, it is absolutely a game of numbers. If 1 in 5 of your warm contacts responds to you and 1 in 5 of them end up doing business with you, then you know that you need to reach out to around 25 warm contacts in order to get a new customer. If you cold DM 10 people to get 1 to respond, and then 1 of those ends up doing business with you, then you know that you need to DM at least 100 people to get a new customer. If your goal is to get 5 new customers per week, but you're only DMing 10 people per day or 100 people total per week, you're not going to reach your goals. From the get-go, you are going to want to commit to and follow through with either one or both of the following 2 items: daily time committed or daily outreach. For example, depending on your goals or your personal situation, you may be able and or willing to commit either 2, 4, or 6 hours each day to direct outreach. Or maybe if you're more motivated by getting something done, you commit to reaching out to 100 or 200 people per day. From there, your goal will be to make these contacts as efficient as possible. For example, if you're doing cold calling, using a dialer may allow you to call multiple people at once, spending less time waiting for the phone to ring or someone to answer. This will allow you to speak to more people in a shorter period of time. Over time, by taking fast, efficient, effective action, you will continue to improve the things you say. You'll continue to improve your numbers. You'll have more referrals. You'll have more customers, more testimonials. Once you have your processes dialed in, or your specific process for just one of these cold outreach methods, not only can you leverage technology, but you can also leverage people and grow a sales team. If you have more money than time, then you may want to start leveraging technology and sales people from the beginning. But just keep in mind, rarely have I seen it work where you just put an ad out or reach out to people and you're like, hey, can you sell my thing? You're either going to need to partner or find someone who's very high level and you're very convinced that they know exactly how to sell your specific thing, or you're going to want to and need to be a lot more hands-on, especially in the beginning while you're getting things dialed in. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that you need to be the one doing all of the, let's say, cold calls, for example, but you're going to want to make sure that you're giving clear direction. You're doing proper training. You're listening in on calls. You're giving very clear feedback on what to be saying at the door. You're tracking the numbers. Otherwise, pro tip, don't ask me how I know, there's a very good chance you could be throwing a lot of money and time out the door. If you are short on capital and you have no interest or desire in being the person on the front lines getting things figured out, then you can try to find someone who's willing to work on a commission basis. However, keep in mind the same thing applies. They either need to have a high level of experience in your exact or a very similar niche or industry. And if this is the case, they're either going to want a very high commission and or a stake in your company, which may make sense depending on your goals and situation, or you will still need to do a lot of hand-holding, a lot of training. Make sure they know your product inside and out. Make sure they understand what to say. Make sure you're monitoring what they're saying, what's happening. The point I'm trying to make is you will never, and trust me, I've tried it so many times, just be able to go find someone who either claims to be good at sales or marketing and just say, okay, here's my product or service, go sell it, go make me rich, and pay them minimal to get that done. It just doesn't really work that way. And if you do figure it out, please, I want to be the first to hear about it. Okay, but we digress just a little bit. The key is that once you move past your direct contacts, your warm leads, your lowest hanging fruit, where you want to start, and move on to a cold outreach system or method, and get that dialed in and really know your numbers, kind of understand some of the scripting, some of the things that you can say. And if you know that for every, let's say, 4 hours of outreach you do, you're able to get a new client or customer, and you know that that new client or customer will make you close to $300 over the next 30 to 90 days, and then potentially more over time, and you know that on average you make about $100 up front from them, then it might make sense to start bringing on a sales team and training people and teaching people that you can pay about $100 for that same amount of time, for that same 4 hours, to now bring in new sales for you. That's what we refer to as nailing it, then scaling it. So while it might take you hours, days, weeks, maybe even months to get this system figured out, and at times you might want to bang your head against the wall, it's going to feel tedious, it's going to feel monotonous, you're going to want to quit 1,000 times over. You might feel like you're wasting time and not getting paid for your efforts. Just remember, your focus is not on how much are you making per hour for the time that you're currently putting in, but rather you're learning, gathering information, you're creating something, you're building a machine that will pay you back time and time again forever. The second way successful businesses promote their product or service is through content marketing. Think podcasts, blogs, YouTube videos, social media content, webinars, newsletters. While this may not be as related to you and your business, news and other media, as well as sports and television shows, think CNN, ESPN, Netflix even, as well as the radio or other music or media type streaming, viewing, or listening platforms could all be seen as forms of content marketing. Think of content marketing as any time somebody is providing value for free in exchange for eyeballs or earlobes, in which I suppose in that context, Netflix would not count because Netflix would be more of the product. Since as of this recording, Netflix primarily sells subscriptions versus providing free content, which they later monetize. With that said, many platforms do a combination of both. The goal of content marketing is to first create value, build up an audience, build trust with that audience, and then you are able to sell products and or services to that audience. These products or services could be your own, someone else's, or a combination of both. For example, Mr. Beast, the world's most popular YouTuber, has made tens of millions selling both his own and other people's products to his raving YouTube fans. In 2013, we started the House Flipping HQ podcast, now called Seven Figure Flipping, sharing our own and other real estate investing experts' expertise for free, which allowed us to grow an audience that later led to a multiple seven-figure annual business, which we then eventually sold for several $1,000,000. And to this day, many years later, still receive monthly 5-figure interest payments, which is nice. There are a lot of side and added benefits to creating a content marketing machine. The top 3 I would say are 1, honing in your messaging, 2, the networking and collaboration opportunities that come from content creation. For example, being able to interview someone on a podcast that maybe you wouldn't have connected with otherwise. And 3, as you are going through the process of creating content, you will be learning how to create said content and thus developing a skill that not only can you use to sell or promote your own products or services, but could also lead to opportunities that could be a product or service in and of itself. The other good thing about content marketing is if you're doing it mostly yourself, shouldn't cost you a lot of money. With that said, for the most part, if content marketing is going to be your primary strategy and you are doing it mostly by yourself, I will say that it does take a lot of time. It takes a long time to create, and in most cases, it's going to take a long time to generate revenue and profit for you and your business. Also, depending on how and what kind of content you're creating, a lot of times creating content is similar to creating a personal brand, especially if you're putting yourself out there. So if you want to make money fast or have no interest of putting your voice or face out there publicly, then starting with content marketing as your primary way to market and sell your product or service may not be the best path for you. Pro tip. Just like with cold direct outreach, when it comes to content marketing, doing less, especially at the beginning, will get you significantly better results. Pro tip number 2, if you need to make money quickly and don't want to spend a ton of time on content creation, start out by focusing on direct outreach, and from there create 1 to 3 pieces of content that you can use to help you follow up with and send out to potential leads that will give them a better feel for who you are and what you're all about. Since creating content isn't your main focus and you aren't creating a ton of it on an ongoing basis, it will take you a minimal amount of time. Having a few key pieces will help you significantly in some of your outreach efforts. Think blog posts, webinars, trainings, demos, getting your website a little more dialed in, case studies, testimonials, white papers,